Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then her child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things, of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
So, before you tell me about that protector part, I'm curious if you had any more contact or insight or work with that 6-year-old part that you met last week.
I have, and I've been checking in, and she seems much happier. It doesn't seem as though she's, last time she was plagued with this decision making. She's totally left that to me. I do feel sometimes, though, and this is how I discovered this protective part was there, that some of the ideas, she's the creative one and adventurous one. A lot of her ideas feel like they're suddenly shut down by another part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I realized there's a bigger part here that's been running the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that you are still in touch with her and looking out for all that. That's great.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So if you want to talk about that other part, let's do it.
Yeah.
What messages are you getting from it, or what sensations?
So it feels like an overarching part of me that really it almost feels like it composes a lot of it feels like a very managerial role. It composes a lot of the way that I talk to people, the way that I present myself, the choices that I make in my life. It's a very big part of me, like a big role. But it feels almost oppressive to the other parts of me that it doesn't even let me get to know them.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that this was who I was, but this is just a part of me.
Yeah.
Which is interesting for me to realize. Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. Okay.
Yeah.
And how about in your body? What is it? What sensations come up when you notice it?
So it feels very militant and almost like a backbone. Like when I think of the energy of this part, it's almost like running along my spine. Like it's a posterior body energy that's just Like it's ever present, and it's just like overseeing everything.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting how powerful this part is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And as you notice it in your spine, how do you feel towards it?
I feel me, myself, looking at this part and realizing I thought that this was me, but looking at it and knowing that it's just a part of me, I feel a little bit of kind of like a little bit of resentment towards this part, because it just doesn't allow the rest of me to come alive. So like the 6-year-old part, you know, has ideas, and this other part's oppressing that. And I'm sure there's all sorts of other parts that this part is oppressing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So see if you can talk to that resentment, that resentful part, and see if you can ask it to step back a little bit in this conversation so that we can get to know this militant protective part and see how it reacts to that.
It gives me the impression that it's kind of like trying to like ignore me, like when I approach this part. You mean like when I try to engage with it?
The resentful part.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
So you have a resentful part that's not so happy about the militant part.
Yeah.
So see if you can turn towards the resentful part and ask it for some space so that you can get to know the militant part.
Okay. I feel like it obliges, but it's kind of like fine, give them more attention, you know. But it's obliging, so it'll back up for that.
Well, thank you to that part, and you know, you can let every part you speak to know that you're interested in getting to know all of them. This is kind of our one at a time process. So you can let it know you have its number and you'll follow up on it. So turning back to that militant part, how do you feel towards it now?
Like I have a little bit more curiosity about it.
Okay. So see if you can let it know that you're curious about it. Invite it to notice you, invite it to this conversation.
Okay. It seems like stoic, very like it's gonna keep doing its own thing, even though I'm like trying to address it.
Yeah, let it know we're not trying to change it. We're not trying to change it. We just want to hear about its role and hear about how it's doing.
Yeah. Okay. It's more open.
Okay. Just try asking it what it wants you to know, or what it wants you to know about it.
Okay. That it's kind of coming off as like what it wants me to know is that it's like it's not moving. Like it's very resistant, it's not moving. It's like this is where it belongs. Yeah.
So does it has a job to do there?
Let me see.
Ask it about its job.
It's very guarded, and it comes off as almost very like snarky. Like, like, yeah, doesn't it look like I have a job? Like, doesn't it look like I'm doing something?
Yeah. Well, you already noticed and talked about all the different roles it has.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you might ask it like how it feels about its job. Does it like it? Does it? What's it like for it?
It just says I keep you safe. Like I keep everything safe. I keep everything in line. Yeah. It feels like a wall like energy. Very immovable, very rigid.
Yeah. And does it make sense to you how it keeps you safe?
Yeah. It feels like it kind of directs everything to be very black and white for me, and tries to make decision making and options in my life very limited so that I always choose the safe route.
Okay. And how do you feel towards it, knowing that that's its intention?
I mean, it feels like I'm grateful, but I'm missing out on life generally.
Sure. Just go ahead and just show it the grateful part. Just let it know you appreciate its intention.
Okay.
And that you see and feel how it works. You're not missing it.
Okay.
How does it respond to that?
It's like a kind of like a silent thank you. Like it didn't outright say thank you, but I could tell that it was received.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
And how's your how are you being with it now? Like what's your proximity to this part?
So I was definitely standing further, and I'm closer. I'm about, and by further, in my mind's eye, this part is a very it's almost like a large, like a very immovable mountain almost.
Yeah.
So I was very far from it from a distance, and now I'm maybe more at the base of it.
Great. That's good.
Yeah.
So you've shown it some appreciation. You've shown it some respect and acknowledgement.
Yeah.
You've gotten closer to it.
Yeah.
You might ask it about what it's worried about, what it's concerned about would happen if it didn't get your attention in the way that it does, if it didn't close down those options or shut down those other parts.
Okay. I think it's just afraid that I will crumble, or that my life will crumble. Like this feeling of just if it didn't do its work, everything would fall apart. Yeah.
Let's just see if we can stay with that for another moment. Like, does that make sense to you? I mean, do you see what it means by crumbling?
Yeah, it almost feels as though it's almost like shielding a gap from the unknown, of what could happen, and this part is just standing right in the middle of that, like a mountain, and saying no, we're not going to go there.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And just kind of maybe one layer one layer deeper of like, what would be so bad about that? Like, what would be bad about crumbling? If it's, maybe it's just not, maybe just to let me know.
Yeah.
What does it see on the other side of that would be so bad?
The first thing that jumps out is that it's like, well, then who are you? Like, who would you be? Or almost, and like, I know this part is such a big part of even my identity and like my ego.
Yeah.
That it's like, who would I be if I weren't here? Who are you if I'm not here? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So just see if you can just kind of invite it to notice you and who you are.
Okay.
You might ask how old it thinks you are.
Okay. I think it sees me as like a 12-year-old. Definitely younger, and it feels like a much more mature energy.
Yeah. Yeah, so just update it on your age and just let it know. I don't know, you might just show it some things about you and who you are, kind of at your core. You're the person that unburdened a 6-year-old last week.
Yeah. So now, instead of this giant energy, it's like a smaller energy now, after I'm kind of, I guess, re-educating on the fact that I'm 30. And it's like, it feels like an old fatherly or grandfatherly energy now. And so it feels more defined rather than this like big energy.
Yeah.
This part, and they're more now fearful of like, when I've let them know, I'm 30, I think now they're fearful for their own role and like what happens now.
Yeah, like being replaced or being fired from their job. Is that the fear?
Yeah, they feel very uncomfortable. You could tell that, being exposed in this way, and having to adjust is not their strong suit at all.
Yeah. No, we're not going to ask them to change anything, and it's never the intention to get rid of any parts or anything. So just see if you can show that this appreciation you have and this understanding that you're trying to develop with this part is not to get rid of it.
Okay.
It's to understand it and to welcome it and to find out what it would rather be doing with its energy.
Okay.
And that might be the next question for it is, what would it rather be doing?
Okay. So it's interesting. So it almost feels like being this kind of grandfatherly kind of part that it's, when I try to talk to it, that it's still very guarded and saying, I command respect kind of thing. And when I ask it what it would rather do, it's like I'd rather protect you. Like that's what it wants to do.
Yeah.
It wants to keep me safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there a way that, again, just in its own volition, its own desire, is there a way it would rather be doing that than the current or the previous kind of mountain black and white militantism? Is there some other way that it would, if it could have any life it wanted, and if it didn't have to worry about these younger parts because you're going to heal all of them and look out for them, how might it just let it look for options and look for ways that it might like to protect you?
Okay. So it kind of just boils down to, it's funny because it wants me to be happy. This part is well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it thought of, but that it's even resistant to doing, is like, well, what if I let the other parts have a say?
Mm-hmm.
Because that means you're happy in the end. But then at the same time, it's like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, it's like, what would it rather do? It feels like it really enjoys being in a type of protector role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what it wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's concerned about letting the other parts have a say because they might not be so concerned with your safety, perhaps, or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a possible role because it likes to protect, but then at the same time, it's like, no, I don't want, like it's hesitant to that.
Sure.
To doing that.
Makes sense. So that's where you can let it know that your intention and your power is in healing these other parts and looking out for them. So it might not be time, it might not be ready. This is a wise part, and we're not asking it to stop what it's doing right now, because it could be absolutely right that there are other parts that are kind of unaccounted for, or that you haven't worked with yet. So just let it know that you see that, but that also that's your aim is to take care of those parts and to look out for them so that it doesn't have to.
Okay. So in explaining that, it shows me a picture of what it would rather do, which is it just wants like peace and harmony. And it gives me like an image of just like sitting down and reading a book peacefully.
Beautiful.
So I get the impression that it protects in order to ensure that I have peace in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But if it didn't have that job, it would still just want to do things that are peaceful to promote peace in my life.
That's great. And it's a good thing to just kind of maybe stay with that and stay in that kind of with that vision of what that could look like. Just kind of offering it some hope and some possibilities, even if we don't know all the steps to get there right now. Just kind of just enjoying that vision with it.
Yeah, pictures like it shows just wanting, like a stable home and a beautiful home and all these really just steady, stable goals for me. And what it would rather be doing is like enjoying living in this beautiful home and like reading a book and like things like that are just very calming and nurturing.
Yeah, sounds nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Try asking what it needs from you in the future.
Okay. So it's like kind of lovingly, but pointing a finger and being like, you know, if I'm not like this, if I'm not in this exact role anymore, then you have to like promise that you're going to choose to prioritize your peace of mind over everything. It's kind of like you need to make sure that you choose things that keep you like sane and whole and, you know, that kind of deal.
This part is not messing around.
Yeah.
It's serious about your well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, what would that look like? And sometimes I like to get really detailed here, and you don't have to necessarily share those details with me, or maybe that's not an important place for you to go now with this part, but what would it look like? What would it mean for you to take up that role?
Okay. So I just picture more just like major life decisions coming up, you know, like I'm thinking about moving, things like that, and, like moving states, like a big move, and just making, I think, a way for me to ensure that I am prioritizing my peace of mind is making sure that all of my life's movements, I'm mostly in alignment, like most of my parts would be in alignment. You know, knowing that I'm at peace with the decisions that I make or who I decide to date, that, you know, most of me is in alignment with that, or as much of me as possible.
Yeah.
I think the peace of mind really comes from me just aligning with me rather than, you know, the way that it was protecting me was making sure black or white decisions and I have to choose this safe route always.
Right.
But here it's much more, you know, you can choose whatever route you want, but you just have to be much more aligned. That's the way that I would take over that role.
Yeah. And does that make sense to you, what that would look like?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
It requires a lot more parts work.
I didn't want to say it because that's my answer to everything, but it's like, okay. Yeah, that's the answer. Yes, that's true. This part is doing a very important job. It's keeping a lot of other parts in line, and it can't fully relax until it knows that it can trust you to lead to those parts.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. Does it know about the work you did last week? And can you show it that?
Yeah. Let me see.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's like looking at what the 6-year-old wants to do, who since then has wanted to join a salsa team.
Yeah.
Who wants to just go out and do all these crazy things, and this like grandfather part is like, don't get too carried away.
Yeah.
Like, oh God. Yeah. But in a funny way. Just kind of like, oh God.
Yeah. Crazy, but in alignment, really, in a way, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I would just thank this part for opening up to you and really working hard for a long time, it sounds like.
Yeah, it has a little bit of fear and reservation, but it's, you know, it is willing to work with me.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. It's a little apprehensive. Yeah.
Sure. So it's doing what it does best.
Yeah.
It's a very, very important part. As a way of kind of, I just want to circle back to one thing that I heard earlier, and we don't have to go there now, but maybe just put a bookmark in it. is, there's a reason that this part thinks that you're about 12. And I imagine that has to do with a role. It had to take on a certain job at that age.
Yeah.
It's concerned about who you're dating. I don't know if that's all part of the same stage of life when suddenly it needs to kick into high gear, and start worrying about that kind of stuff.
It's interesting, and I'm really happy that you highlighted that for me, because I wouldn't have thought about that. Like it thinks I'm about 12, and I grew up without a father figure, and it makes sense that this would be like an older, wiser grandfather-like part that would adopt that role in my life within me.
Yep.
To keep me in line, because I never. How it works. That is crazy.
It's exactly how it works. Wow. It's in all of us. It is crazy, but it's we're all capable of it. It's like it's such a beautiful system. It's like, you didn't have a father figure, so here it is. And he's right on time, and he's keeping you safe.
Wow. That is not, my mind is just blown. I'm gonna have to sit with that for a while. My gosh. Wow.
Yeah. So I imagine when he's talking about the different parts that he wants to look out for, that might be a part for you to kind of bookmark about, okay, I need to find this 12-year-old part. I need to find the other parts that this part was most concerned about, or is most concerned about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this part is probably not. It's definitely not. Yeah, it wasn't reacting to my adult, normal, modern day self. It was acting on behalf of a 12-year-old part. That's probably somewhere in there.
Yeah, they're all in there. They're all in there. They don't go away.
And is there a limit to the number of parts somebody can have?
Not that I know of. And I mean, I don't know. I do this work with myself every day, and I'm well past 20. There's all kinds of theories about how many and how they interact, and some people say, well, parts have parts, and parts have self, and it gets very fractal. So
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. Or like maybe the 12-year-old is protecting the 6-year-old. The 6-year-old is protecting the 3-year-old, and like it can be very complex, but it's awesome to learn about.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And this definitely gives me a feel, because I definitely feel like this part is protecting the unknown, protecting me from the unknown. And it also helps me like avoid this like chasm of like, I guess, loneliness from my father figure not being there.
Sure.
Like it totally covers that chasm of like, I'm a mountain and I'm going to stay here. No one's like, you're not going to see this like empty area that's here. That's under construction.
Yeah.
I sense that it didn't want to move for that reason. That is nuts.
Right. Yeah. So lots to be grateful for its role.
Yeah.
But also just understanding that, it came to life probably when you were 12, and it might kind of still have that same, the tools that you had when you were 12, it just doesn't have the other perspective and the other resources that you have now.
And it's so interesting because when I discovered, I guess, within these days that I had this part, I was just sitting with it, and I just kept telling myself, I'm like, this part is really concerned with safety and security. Are there other ways that I can provide myself safety and security? And it's funny because I didn't think about, finding and reclaiming my other parts and aligning that way. Yeah. I think this part was so concerned with like, no, we have to have a place to live. We have to be secure and stable and make sure we have this exact job. And that's how it was kind of keeping me in line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's interesting that now really the true security will be finding alignment within myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I invite parts to do both. Like, I want to do the inner work, but hey, if they got good ideas about like what the next car I should buy is, like, great. I'm okay with I'm okay with that too. Like, let them do, if they've been doing it their whole lives and they have input on, out in the world decisions, like, that's fine. As long as the communication is there, and as long as you're kind of aware of, earlier you said, like, this part is me. This, felt like it was me. And to just have that new relationship with it, where it's like, it's not you, it's part of you, and you can have a much more productive relationship with it.
And like, this part helped me build my life to where I am now, that I thought it was me. Like, every time I make a decision, I would think it was me, but it's really just this part just superseding everybody and just saying, no, we're going to do this. Wow, that's incredible. Incredible.
I think so.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was really nice talking with you today. And
it's always such a help. Thank you.
Yeah, I got my notes here, and I'm going to just make a little bookmark that might be a place to go, or we can go anywhere, but that kind of 12-year-old energy might need your attention next. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be lovely for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, hope to talk with you soon. Hope you have a great Christmas, and
absolutely. Same, likewise.
Reschedule as soon as you like.
All righty. Thank you so much, James. Have a great day. Have a great holiday.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Zikri, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.